This concept quickly. If anyone in this room is looking for an instructor, a drill instructor, a sergeant or lieutenant to get you through this academy, get up and get out now. It's not going to happen. I'm not here to get you through the academy. That's not my function. It's not my job. My job is to place obstacles in front of you. It's your job to develop a process and how to get through those obstacles and move forward. My job is to make things uncomfortable. Discomfort promotes change, promotes better habits. From there, it's up to you whether you develop the self-discipline to sustain those habits moving forward. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
If you're looking from the outside, for outside factors to get you through this academy, do not come back on the 8th. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Fido Talk with David Thompson. On today's episode, I'd like to dive into leading within a harsh environment, a harsh work environment. And I'd like to touch on a few different areas within that harsh environment. Leading ourselves, leading other people, and what we can do from both ends of the spectrum. I'd like to touch on some of my personal experiences and my observations as to how different styles and approaches really do affect the team and the team members moving forward. So let's jump right into it. When we talk about a harsh work environment, that could mean different things to different people depending upon what occupation, what career path, what industry you're working in. For me, I'm coming from more of the first responder type industry, that type of career path. So my approach, my perspective comes more from having people, the stakes being, people getting hurt, more catastrophic outcomes than maybe an industry where the outcomes are more profit margins or quarterly expectations or yearly results, paper, financial, that kind of thing. So from my experience, all leadership principles are derived from the more harsher careers, more from the military, more from historic military lessons. So I think what we'll talk about today derives from those principles and can definitely be universally applied moving forward. So let's kind of reiterate why we lead. We lead to create more leaders. That's the end game. To create not only more leaders, but more specifically, more effective leaders. There has been good and bad throughout history. And some bad leaders, bad people with bad intentions and bad philosophies and things like that have been incredibly effective in their approach and been incredibly effective at leading groups of people towards whatever objective and mission statement they are after. So we tend to try to steer away from the philosophy of being good or bad. We want to be effective versus ineffective. That's kind of what that's exactly what we're aiming for, right? So why do we lead? We lead to create effective leaders. more effective leaders than what I was or what I'm aspiring to be, right? We want to kind of leave that legacy. So how do we do that within a harsh work environment? First and foremost, it comes down to leading ourselves. We can preach all we want, right? We can talk as much as we want. At the end of the day, that verbal communication, which only accounts for a small percentage of overall communication, doesn't mean shit if it's not backed up by actionable approaches. Meaning, if we're not setting the example, we can talk all we want. It doesn't mean anything unless it's backed up by action. If we eliminate the verbal diarrhea, if we eliminate the verbal content of our leadership style and just set the example by acting, chances are we'd be much more effective. We set that example by leading ourselves. If we want, or if our objective in any team, organization, industry, or what have you, is to promote a professional appearance, well, we better get on that and project our own selves as a professional. Whether that's a physical appearance, the way we enunciate and talk professionally, the way we carry ourselves, the way we approach people, the adherence to respecting people first and see where it goes from there. Whatever that example may be, we must unequivocally make that a priority for ourselves first and foremost. If we're not practicing that, but preaching it, that equates to fraudulence. And that's going to be exposed very, very quickly. Don't underestimate your teammates, your coworkers, your frontline leaders, or anyone else that may be that you may have some influence over. Don't underestimate them. Don't insult their intelligence by talking a good game and then bringing nothing to the table. You will immediately, if not sooner, become incredibly ineffective. So lead yourself. If you have an objective of creating a standard of appearance and physical, some sort of physical standard or expectation for people to be physically fit and being able to carry out duties that require a physical, that are physical in nature, well, you better hit the gym or you better maintain your physical abilities. Otherwise, you've already lost, right? It's an L, and you need to maybe reassess where you're coming from. If you have that expectation of people knowing and having a good foundation of different disciplines within your team, within your organization, within your agency, then you better damn well know what you're talking about as well. You better hit the books. You better review procedures, tactics, policies, rules, any changes that may not come down. To have those expectations, but don't have that expectation of yourself, it's down. You're running down the right road to fraudulism, and that in itself is the beginning of creating a more toxic environment, a harsher environment that is totally unnecessary and doesn't need to be there. Unfortunately, in some of these instances, agencies and departments, teams and organizations, it's so easy to look outside yourself to say, this one's not doing it, that one's not doing it. So I'll take a step through the easy door here and not do it myself, because why should I? Right? As we've talked about and I've posted about, we can do what's right or we can do what's easy. Very, very rarely is doing what's right easy. It's just not. Doing what's right is difficult. But just like any habit, any system, any routine that we decide to take on and develop, it gets different with time and it becomes more attainable. It becomes your go-to. And it's the new norm for you. Goals are great. Objectives are great. They're awesome, right? But what they are is just that burst of emotion. It's the burst of emotion that gets you going. But then that slowly fades away. It's not very sustainable. Emotions are not sustainable, right? But then if you take that goal and break it down into a system and a routine to get yourself where you want to be, that's sustainable, right? That's the response. That is more of a logical, cerebral response to whatever situation you're involved in. So why we lead and how we get there always comes back to ourselves, right? Stop looking outside yourself to get where you want to be. If you want to be a leader, it starts with yourself before you can lead others. It has to start with yourself daily, on a daily basis. Now, from my own experience, I have been led by some very ineffective leaders, right? Very reactionary, very emotional, very me first, right? Very self-centered, very, career driven at all costs. And that was ineffective in the overall mission, in overall missions, I should say, certainly more than a few. And things weren't getting done properly. They were getting done, right? But at what cost? Having to double back to do all the work again. To having to replace key team members. It's not being selfish, being self-centered, being one way is not the way to be an effective team leader. To disregard the human element and the people doing the work day in and day out, especially in a harsh work environment, is catastrophic to any objective, to any mission statement, catastrophic across the board. It does come back to the three basic priorities of leadership. The mission statement, the overall organizational goal at all cost. The team, the people, the boots on the ground, those absolutely come next. And then me. I take care of me so I can take care of the people, so those people can take care of the objective. That's the most efficient, historically efficient way to get anything done. Objectives, goals, missions, mission statements, etc., etc. It's a very simplistic approach to what could be very complex objectives. The objectives can be as complex as needed. Situations can be as complex as they unfold. Our response to them can be very simplistic. It can be very, very simplistic. And to go in to think that you can kind of put a blanket over all of them and you're going to cover every angle and have some sort of fail-proof method and approach is incredibly unrealistic. Things are going to fail across the board. I mean, they're going to fail. Some catastrophic, some not. You probably will have more fails than you will successes. To keep going, taking the small failures as lessons and get a little bit better each time will provide a rate of return that will blow you away. Now, when we talk about react versus respond, in some fields, you practice when it comes to technical things, operational, tactical things, you practice to react. You react in situations that arise that give you no time, right? Or very minimal time. And you react. And then you deal with whatever comes of that reaction. You deal with it then. It's inevitable. To plan for it, to plan for something that the outcome is reactionary, is very difficult. To mitigate that, you practice. You put the time, the effort, and if you have the expectation as an appointed leader that your team or the people in your charge are going to react 100% right 100% of the time, that's a very unfair and unrealistic expectation. That's definitely not going to happen. Then you can flip that coin and ask yourself, have I given them the resources to develop as an appropriate reactions as they possibly can, given the resources I've given them, or the resources and opportunities to develop, right? Have I done that for my team? Have I done that for the overall objective and missions and organizational goals? Have I done that? If the answer is no, well, you need to take a hold of that, right? You need to reassess. And that goes for the boots on the ground as well. Have I taken advantage of every opportunity to progress and develop and to practice? And have I pushed the issue up the chain? Have I made suggestions? Have I requested resources? Have I requested time and training and clarification and guidance and mentorship and coaching? Have I done that? And if you haven't, well, maybe it's time for you to reassess. Everyone owns a piece of responsibility in situations. Everyone owns a piece of responsibility if you're involved in a harsh work environment. Everyone owns some responsibility. I posted something that says we might not be at fault as boots on the ground. We might not be at fault for the shitty work environment, right? We might not that might not be our fault. The fault might not lie directly on our shoulders. But I tell you what, you are 100% fucking responsible for the way you respond while you're working in that harsh work environment. 100 fucking percent responsible for the way you respond and the way you conduct yourself. So if you choose to add to that toxicity and you choose to jump on board with what you're complaining about, then you're a fucking fraud. You're part of the problem. If you have this perspective that the top dogs, the administration doesn't give a shit, and then you come into work with that same approach that, oh, fuck them. If they don't give a shit, I don't give a shit. Well, who the fuck is right? You're equally wrong. Equally. If you come in and there's a new directive or a change or something, and your approach is, oh, well, fuck them. They're not doing it. They're not going to, meet standards or their expectation of me. They're not going to follow their own. Fuck them. Then what does that say about you? What does that say about you? From my perspective, you're just exposing yourself as emotionally weak, right? Because the situation arises where something you don't like comes to light, right? And it's not something that you need to react to right away, right? So you don't need to get that emotional over it, right? But you choose to react instead of taking a few minutes. Taking a few minutes, taking a breath, going to work out, ponder it, try to make some logical, rational sense out of it, and then come up with a response. Not a reaction, but a response. The reaction is more effective, right? If we're talking about what's right versus what's easy, a fucking reaction is incredibly easy. We can just let it come out, right? A response is harder. That means we have to take a few minutes. We actually have to think. We have to reflect. We have to kind of do a quick assessment, a self-assessment, to see which direction you're going to go. Are you going to go the easy way? Or are you going to go the right way? You're going to take the moral high ground? Or are you just going to be a dick about it? Right? And what does that do to the A, overall mission, and B, to the team? Am I hurting the team? Am I adding to the shitstorm? Right? Is there a third option? Right? Is there a third option? Right? Because the right way is to make the best of it. Right? Be professional in your response. Ask for clarification. Maybe ask for it to be reviewed. Whatever it is. Is there other avenues, professional avenues you can take? If not, can you just shut the fuck up and be a quiet professional? Right? Stay neutral? Is that an option? Yes, it is. And being a douchebag about it, that's an option too, right? That's absolutely an option. Is it an effective option? In my opinion, no. You're a douchebag. And you're part of the problem. And it's not being an effective teammate. It's certainly not being an effective, influential teammate. And there's no place for it if you would like to consider yourself a leader. There's no genre in leadership for somebody or people like that. There's just, in my opinion, there's no place for it. So what's the play, right? What's the play? And let's start off with the appointed leadership, the people that have the supervisors, right? The frontline leaders. What's the play in a harsh work environment? From my experience and from the lessons I've seen and the lessons I've learned, from myself and by watching other people, some incredible leaders, some incredible young leaders who have surprised the crap out of me, and some, older leaders that have been very ineffective. And again, in my opinion, and it's just a way, not the way, it's the human element, right? The human element. We work, if we're working in a harsh work environment, whether it be the number of hours, the type of work, the toxic work environment, and we recognize that, we know that, you have to keep the human element in mind. The people doing the work are human beings, right? And every individual is different. They have different breaking points. They have different levels of patience. They have different levels of temperament. They have different ways of responding to things. They have different skill sets. They have different interpersonal communication levels. It's all different. Know your people. Understand your people. Understand what's effective in guiding them, in coaching them, in mentoring them, counseling. What resources can you offer them to improve and develop? What's available within your lane, right? Within your left and right limits. What's available to them? And follow up. Understand that people have lives outside of their professions, right? They have personal lives. And as much as, again, I say this a lot, as much as we want to compartmentalize these things, there is spillover on either side. And it happens. You know why? Because we're fucking human beings. And we're prone to these things. And it's okay. And I'm not suggesting it's okay to a point, right? It's okay to a point. But if I'm a leader, my job is to help navigate and mentor and help somebody develop themselves to maintain that professionalism, to maintain that point of view and approach, to maintain those priorities of the organizational goal, the team, and then me, right? So if I was to give any type of advice to a frontline leader, an appointed leader, that would be that. You have human fucking beings in your charge. Understand human nature, right? Understand that. I would first start off by studying the Stoics, and then secondly, Abraham Maslow. I would get on that. Abraham Maslow, the hierarchy of human needs. Those are my top two things to look at if you're a newly appointed leader or frontline leader. Understand human beings, okay? Understand human beings. There's plenty of room for empathy. Now, that doesn't take away accountability, responsibility, getting the job done, and all those type of, basic fundamental things that we need to get done. But there's an approach in a way to do that that's more effective than the old "because I fucking told you so" approach. And this is the way we're doing it, and I'm going to pound my fists on the table like some fucking retard. Excuse me. I shouldn't use that word. But like some Neanderthal, and force your way to getting things done. It's incredibly ineffective. Now, for the boots on the ground, what can we do? I think I just talked about it. We can take a minute and respond, right? We can set an example and be the leaders or the leader that we would like to have, right? We can be that. We can be what we would like to have, whether it's have right now, have had in the past, or wish to have in the future. Be that, right? If you wish your leadership was presented themselves better, present yourself better. If you wish that they spoke better, speak better, right? There's a ton of resources out there. Use them. Don't depend on anyone else to lead you. Lead your damn self. If you would like for them to have empathy and understanding from where you're coming from in your position, flip that coin and have some empathy and understanding from where they come from. Maybe they're trying, right? Maybe they are trying, but they've never had the example, the experience, the resources to be an effective leader, right? Maybe they were put on the fast track. Right, wrong, or indifferent, they are where they are. And just maybe they've never had the time, resources, and opportunities to grow and develop in a effective manner to be a leader, right? Maybe that's it. Maybe they don't have or haven't developed the skill sets yet. That there could be 1,000 different reasons. But for us to typecast someone and just say that they suck as a leader, or they suck as a manager, or suck as a supervisor, and maybe that's true, but there could be 1,000 different reasons why. Same as somebody may say, or frontline leaders may think that you suck as an employee, right? Here at Bare Bones, the philosophy is there is no such thing as a bad employee, only ineffective leaders. There's no such thing, if you're an instructor, as having a bad student. You're an ineffective instructor. Do better. But that comes from within. That comes from within. So if I was, or being right now, the boots on the ground, the people actually doing the work, have that empathy, right? But understand, don't look outside yourself to get where you need to be. And if that means that you are going to be the boots on the ground for your career, then be the best boots on the ground that you could possibly be. But don't have an expectation of a frontline leader, a teammate, a frontline leader, a supervisor, mid-level manager, top dog, administrator, or whoever to get you there, right? They can mentor you, they can coach you, they can give you advice, they can instruct you, they can do whatever, right? They can demand, command, they can do whatever they want. At the end of the day, They can't jump inside your skin and get it done. Only you can do that. How you do that, the how is up to you. What they can provide is the what needs to get done, and the why it needs to get done. If they're not providing the why, you damn well better go seek it, because without the why, you'll never have engagement. Once you have those two things answered, the what needs to get done, and why needs to get done, the how's on you. That's where you start getting to work and start developing your processes, your systems, your habits to get things done. You develop those, you're starting to create that leader within yourself. You're starting to build that skill set within yourself. So when an opportunity arises, whether it's at your organization or not, or it's somewhere else, you have a skill set, a foundation that you can build off of when leading other people. The process that you use to lead yourself can be applied to other people, right? When you mentor and coach somebody, you have some examples, some intangible experience and tangible experience to draw from. Again, that's an approach, not the approach, but it's certainly something to think about. Now, again, I'm going to close out by saying this. No matter what, any environment, harsh environment or not, but more specifically today, the harsh environments. If you consider yourself working in a harsh environment, in whatever industry you work in, if you consider it harsh, understand this. None of what I just said means shit if you're not willing to put in the work to either change your approach or push shit up the ladder. If you're not willing to put in the work to invoke change, shut the fuck up. Nobody at all has got you handcuffed to your organization, your team, or your profession. When people say, well, I don't have a choice, I don't have any options, that is bullshit. 100% bullshit. What you're saying is you're not willing to take the risk, leave the profession and whatever it provides for you, whether it's stability, monetary incentives, insurance, benefits, whatever. You're not willing to risk and leave that and go put in the work somewhere else. What's more important to you? Quality of life, peace of mind, or the money, the benefits, the stability, so forth and so on. And for me, from a personal perspective, I don't begrudge anybody anything. I understand. But don't walk into work, act like you're handcuffed there, and then shit all over it. You're not. You're not. Don't add to the toxicity of the environment, the harsh environment that's inherently harsh to begin with, especially in the first responder fields. Act like you're stuck there and then do nothing about it. You're a fucking fraud. You're not handcuffed to your profession. You're just unwilling to take the risk, do the extra work to put yourself in a position to leave that environment. That's what it comes down to. Stop bullshitting yourself and others. So that's it for today. That's it for this episode. Got a little bit off my chest. I appreciate everyone listening. I appreciate your support. We got a few big things coming down the pipe, so I appreciate your patience. I've had some hiccups on the website, so definitely new blog posts coming out. And again, I appreciate everyone's support. Thanks for listening. See you the next time. I want to thank everyone for listening to this week's episode of Fido Talk with Dave Thompson. If you would, please subscribe and review. It helps a lot. Share the word with your friends and family. Have them check it out and provide some feedback. We'd love to hear it. Check us out at barebonesleadership.com for the latest blog and different perspectives on everything leadership. Follow us on the gram and on our newly updated Facebook page. Share your comments, your thoughts, your reviews. Any and all feedback is always welcome. And don't forget, keep kicking those fucking doors in, and as always, Fido. I appreciate you guys listening. Take care, and see you next time.